could have saved whoever you wanted to and then saved the world. Why? The world isn't gonna win. It is. I'm trying to make sure we don't.
While at first, Rick and Michonne taking out the CRM embarrassingly easily was annoying with how much they built the CRM up. With the CRC, the Civic Republic Council, of course still remaining, and Beale's CRM spies in different communities around the continent and the world, it still remains interesting.
We have embeds, spies in selected communities throughout the continent and the world to monitor them, potentially sabotage them, to influence their politics and approaches.
A friend in high places.
We'll take their resources and ensure supremacy.
I should start this video off by telling you what I think and what I think should be the next big actual threat in The Walking Dead. What they've been teasing, the new walkers. The walkers being the real enemy in The Walking Dead is better. Scott Gimple said he's excited for the future of The Walking Dead, and he does want to bring Rick and Michonne back.
We'll figure it out on the next one.
So if I had to theorise where The Walking Dead was going, I would say, to put it simply, you know in Game of Thrones, when Jon Snow had to go around travelling to different factions and people all over the place asking people for help to fight the real threat, the dead. That's what I think is going to happen here.
You've looked better.
And just like in that show, thanks to whatever happens in the Daryl show, I'm hoping not the juicing up walkers part of it, but the whole thing of Dr. Jenner knowing about variants. A much more natural, much stronger, scarier walker is going to come from France, and if that follows Daryl and Carol on a boat back to the US, hopefully they reveal something like Beale was somewhat right. Beale said there are 14 years left of humanity.
Our modeling shows that non-necrotic human life, people, now have 14 or so years left on this planet. With a billion petri dishes out there, stumbling and cooking in the sun, waiting to transmit God knows what to us while it transforms into God knows what.
So sure, you've got rid of the CRM, the evil stuff they were doing, yeah, good job, killed my hard-on. But surely this is still a problem, I would argue an even bigger problem. Now the CRM aren't trying to deal with it. You had this big mysterious organisation taking care of it, doing it in one of the more sinister, horrible ways, sure, but without them doing it, it's going to take Rick, who is the main character of the franchise, to convince the CRC, the Commonwealth, and eventually Negan's people, once he builds up the whole of New York City, to get rid of this herd. I say Rick not only because he's the main character, but because he's the only living one that got the echelon brief and saw the scans that Beale showed him. Something I would love to see if, similar to Jon Snow, Rick has to try and convince everyone that there's a big threat coming, and no one will believe him that the walkers are changing or that they're doing all this stuff they've never seen before. And it has to be the most devastating, biggest herd they've ever seen. If walkers are remembering certain things, they're being faster, stronger, and it's also the normal walkers all mixed in together. You're not going to be able to bleed them off cliffs or do what they've done with every other herd in The Walking Dead. It's not going to be the CRM versus the Commonwealth, where it's people versus people. It's going to be what Rick Grimes has always preached, the people versus the dead. It makes a lot more sense now why it wasn't the CRM we were seeing teasers of in the main show. It was the new walkers.
Maybe there's other kinds too. I hope not.
It was canonizing when Frank Darabont made the walkers shuffle a bit faster, pick stuff up and climb, because that's the real threat. It is the new walkers. So at first when I watched it, you can probably tell what I was thinking, but after a while of thinking about it, I think it's the better thing to do, because now all of a sudden I care about the Daryl show. I think it's important to know that the Civic Republic are still there. The CRM was the Civic Republic military, and that's gone. Their symbol is now just a circle,
with oversight of the military now in the council's hands.
I think this episode started off really well. I was enjoying Rick's meeting with Beale. They had this really cool compilation of all the stuff that Rick's done, and it was cool at first, but it got to the point where I think they were just blatantly putting in these random compilations of Rick and Michonne, that it stopped having any relevance to what they were talking about. It made sense, showing what Rick had to do in the show, you know, killing Shane, Joe the Claimer, defeating Negan, showing Michonne defeating the governor, but it got to the point where I think they were just chucking in these jarring compilations from the main show to tug on nostalgia strings to make up for how lackluster the ending of this episode was. Rick charges at Beale, it's really cool.
No!
stop doing that.
And he's meant to be some high military rank. He had a full 15 hours to pull his gun out. And he's like, no, let me get my gun into my favourite hand. And even then, Bill fighting Rick is amazing. But then he kills him and they bigged him up for 2 years in World Beyond as some big Darth Vader character, but go on then, kill him. It's not just a waste of the character, it's a waste of Terry O'Quinn. They never quite let this character come out of that Disney XD mask. I didn't even need Bill bigged up as some big villain like the Governor. Would have liked to see a certain side to him as we did with him, but I just think we didn't get enough. Poor Thorne as well, she was an interesting character, and I think what's sad is not just her silly death, but the contrast of how human she was, even when she was being some cringy psycho CRM soldier. But then all of a sudden, this even cringier Disney XD villain.
You don't understand. In a dead world, love is dead.
It was so bad.
Love doesn't die.
It died 10 minutes ago.
Love doesn't die.
I hate you.
Uncle Fu is right.
Oh, just hurry up and die so you stop spouting utter rubbish. Also, I was expecting to see her being eaten in the background when the camera zoomed up, but you don't actually see her there, so I don't know. I don't know if I care enough to even go there. I feel like episode 6 made a lot of things seem pointless for the point of Rick and Michonne's love can beat anything, and I don't think that's good. If the point of this show and the CRM was to build them up for years, make them seem so big and unstoppable, only to nerf them in the final episode, to have these characters breeze through it, then I don't like it. Yeah, it's an epic love story, but people think that's an excuse for some utter letdowns in this show. People disliking what happened in episode 6 isn't them not understanding that it's a love story. They still had years building up and teasing the CRM without saying it was a love story. So what they've done here is move the goalpost. So that's what I take away from it in regards to what the episode did. You either liked it or had some pretty justified disappointment with it. I get that it's an epic love story, but maybe for Rick, for the direction and interest of any other Walking Dead show, and building it up as they very intentionally did, you shouldn't have made the CRM a subplot. What we're left with now is the CRC, so we've still got that, but there's a big mysterious, interesting chunk of the Walking Dead universe bitten out of it now. Rick and Michonne are so much more than romance, kissing and having kids. And that brave man shite they keep doing as well. It was horrible the first time you did it.
Did a brave man go to his friend's house after that?
They obviously had those kids say that so they could say it now here, but it wasn't a good payoff.
You're the brave man?
Oh fuck. And it's not this kid's fault. I feel bad for him because behind the scenes there's a clip of him. He's got a conscience. But when they're filming, I've never seen anything like it.
I knew you'd come back. I believed.
Like some reject Polar Express kid. Get out, honestly. I knew you would come back. I'm a droid. Where am I? It's not his fault, and again, you shouldn't be attacking him, goes without saying, but it was really bad, and you know, they've had years to sit here and swap him out or have him improve. Don't pull the Jake Lloyd card. People are allowed to say they don't like it. The Walking Dead are so bad with kids, and funnily enough, they're the only shows that treat them this important. In this ending scene, you see helicopters fly over them, presumably to Alexandria at first, and then perhaps even the Commonwealth. It would have been so much better if they were bombed, and that's how it ended. It's all happy, but then you just hear. But yeah, I think because they turned a movie trilogy into 6 hours of episodic TV, it affected it. You didn't really get to see Rick alone at the CRM struggling for too long, and so to me it was rushed, and I thought the ending was cheap. Still excited, I still believe the stuff will happen they very clearly teased will happen, but I did like the CRM. Long live the CRM. There's still hidden CRM spies. I've got a YouTube short coming out about this soon, but to very quickly explain to you, I think Lance was trading people from Outpost 22, but he would take some of them and put them in Designation 2, where they aren't workers but they're sent off by train to the CRM.
It's Designation 2.
His other henchman died, but she just disappeared when Lance fell, so they could absolutely be agents. And I don't want to go into the PPP thing right now, and I don't really care too much about Heath, but I think we could make sense of the PPP exception on the board behind Thorne, as people with that card are spared and recognised as a spy when that community is taken out. But talking about Heath at all, I think right now is so far off, let alone him being a spy at Alexandria. There is also Bill's son. I do think it's quite cool that people want him to give Rick his comic death, or at least try to do it because he's now got his comic book look. I think Andrew Lincoln would want to do that, so it's interesting. I rate these episodes on enjoyment. I'm going to give episode 6 a 6.5 out of 10. I think the music was good, the ending would have been good had it been further away. I just don't like how quickly they wrapped everything from The Ones Who Live up. If the new Walker stuff proves to be even better, then I can look back at this stuff and be like, I'm glad they did that. But this is what I think about it. What do you think? What did you think of episode 6 and how they ended The Ones Who Live? Are you upset about the CRM? Are you disappointed? Let me know what you think down below. If you weren't too keen on how this bit ended, go and watch my What If Rick Didn't Leave video, where you can see him take on the Whisperers. Press the like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.